Hey everybody, welcome to the Trinity. Today we're going to talk about some weird stuff. We're either going to talk about religion, drugs, or alien. And so I'm going to leave it up to fate. Let's roll the dice to figure out what we're going to chat about. So a 1 to 2 is religion, 3 to 4 is aliens, and 5 to 6 is drugs. So let fate decide. So we got 2. So we got religion.
Great
So
topic.
I am apparently today I'm Captain Queso. Sometimes I'm Hotep Beavis, and most of the days I'm William Miller. So I am talking to Tyson Figueroa.
Very good.
I want to feel like the G is kind of silent.
Yeah, you said it perfect.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so religion. I know this is people need religion these days, I feel. But anyway, so in my experience, I don't ask people if they believe in God. I
Okay.
ask, how would you define God?
Okay. So for me, I define God as a spiritual being. I don't think it's a single thing. I think it's an energy more.
Okay,
I think that yeah.
just leave it right there.
Yeah, I think it's an energy. It's a very powerful energy.
Okay.
Very powerful energy that, at, it, we go to war over religion, so it's a very important thing to people, and I think that it just needs to be left up to the person. I don't think you need to categorize it, or people need to be in categories, because I think it's just a way to divide us.
Right. So
So yeah.
how I see God is over my years is I think it is, like you said, a spiritual being. But I will go and say I think God ultimately is everything. Um, all that is matter, dimensions, and you going into other dimensions. So the universe and everything beyond that is God to me. And like it's so undefinable we can barely comprehend it. And so I think people spend too much time thinking about what God is when it's indescribable and you just can't do it. So I think that's kind of where faith comes in. Because I've
Right.
done too many psychedelics, I've smoked too much weed over the years. There's no way I don't believe in something greater than myself out there, powers, that type of thing.
Right. No, I agree with you 100% on there's something, but too much time, I agree with you, is wasted on trying to define it, or trying to see it, or trying to communicate with just one thing, when everything around us is alive. Trees are alive, plants are alive, animals are alive. We waste too much time trying to just focus on just one God, that you know things get lost in the sauce. Like you said, there's been too many experiences that I've had with, like you said, with drugs, and with just life experiences, where faith is great, but I've never had I I put my faith more in human beings than I do in spirituality, because nothing has ever come to save me from a flat tire on the side of the road, uh, besides another person.
Okay, I can definitely see
So
that.
so I think that too much I think too much energy goes into putting uh, faith and trust in something that you can't see, you can't touch, you can't feel physically, where makes it so easy for us to hate the next person, but have faith in God. I have a hard time with that. I have a really hard time with religion, and organized religion in particular.
I feel you on that one. I guess what I kind of think is also, um, I think like the Bible says there are a hierarchy of angels beneath God. Now, when they say that,
Mhm.
I automatically think aliens. So we're going to talk about a little bit of aliens too,
And
because
see, it's funny, because we were going into the alien thing. My wife and I just had a talk, because I don't think you can really talk about aliens and not religion and not kind of intermingle the two things.
No, I absolutely agree. And this is kind of funny because I will talk to people who believe in aliens but do not believe in God, and I will talk to people who believe in angels but do not believe
Mm-hmm.
in aliens, and I don't think the two are a separate subject because I do believe that there
Mm-hmm.
are like aliens out there that are like humans. They have a terrestrial, they are physical, and they
Mm-hmm.
live in the physical realm. But then once you break into interdimensional beings, like that's. Have you ever actually seen the biblical accurate depictions of angels on like YouTube?
I I think what we run into when we talk about aliens is a lot of what they talk about, how our ancestors spoke about the ancient aliens. You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of we look a lot extraterrestrially, but I think we need to look more interdimensionally.
Oh, I can
If
completely
that
agree.
makes sense to you.
It does because
I think a lot more of the things that we see as far as UFOs and stuff like that are just breaks in the dimensions that we just happen to be lucky enough to see.
yeah, no, and I agree with you on that fact because as I've learned is human beings we only can see a very small portion of the spectrum of energy. So there may be interdimensional beings around us at all time. We just can't see them. I would love to.
Right. We're
I
all
think it'd be hilarious and fun.
I think a lot of people when they talk about seeing ghosts and stuff like that are seeing just I just really have a hard time with the whole spirituality part of spirituality, if that makes sense. I think a lot of it is scientific stuff that we just don't have right now. The terminology or the technological uh, capability of seeing, like our ancient ancestors spoke about ancient aliens and all that stuff, about how they would see a flying dragon or something like that. I really just think they were seeing things in dimensions and in time. I think a lot of it has to do with time and time travel and people coming back and in between times, and that to me is an interesting aspect of this whole spirituality stuff. I think a lot of it is us just not having the terminology to deal with it. So when we see something in between dimensions or something like that, the easiest way for us to speak about it is an angel or a ghost. When it really to me might just be somebody that we just are lucky enough or in tune enough or on the right vibration enough to see that at that time. And it doesn't have, drugs help,
Oh, yes, they do.
but
Yes, they
sometimes
do.
you just sometimes you just happen to see it, and that's a supernatural or a spiritual, or I think that's what more it has to do with. But that's my opinion. I know
Right.
people need spirituality and faith as a crutch to stay. It keeps a lot of people sane. Helps people stop using drugs that are controlling their lives, and it helps people through part of their life that they don't have anything else to lean on. I would rather lean on and pray that other people are going to come to my aid. Even though I've been let down a bunch of times. So don't get me wrong, I don't have great faith in the human race, but I think that we can get there, and it's just we're so close.
No, I feel you on the like. I understand the idea of placing faith in man. What I would say is I place my faith in that it's a weird situation and there's crazy stuff going on. And I don't really place my faith in people. I've always had like, I don't politicians, rich people, like anybody else is I just have they're going to do what they're going to do because science says most likely we evolved from monkeys. People still act like it. I'm not putting my faith in that person. Now we depend on those people. Like we have people we
Mm-hmm.
depend on around us for help and everything. But I've had a couple of experiences where it's it's like as either I've been sent to someone or someone has been sent to me in a time of need. Just, random occurrence, too much of a coincidence. And I lost you there. Still there?
There.
Okay, there we go. So,
Sorry,
but
I had a call come.
Oh, that's fine. So I got a question though. Do you think religion? And I lost you. And we're not back, but we may be back. Using this new Riverside FM studios to try it out, so it seems like it's doing pretty good. I think maybe he might be having a bad connection. So Riverside FM, check it out. And while I'm here, I'm gonna get him back in. All right,
I'm
there we
sorry.
go. Hey, no worries. So, question: do you think religion in general has had a net positive or net negative on humanity? Because you kind
Negative.
of okay.
Don't even. I don't have to think about it.
Now, kind of give me some explanations, maybe reasoning going into that. You did mention earlier people started wars over it.
Wars over it, and look at just the I don't like to point out specific religions, but like
Go for
Catholicism. Look at all the nastiness that goes on in Catholicism with the priests that are do the molesting, and it's not like I'm saying something that's not true. It's happened. It's been proven. Right. The jihads, people. That's just another
crusades.
Crusades is another. The witch trials back in the day were another. It's just the negative impacts have been so much greater. And the thing that kills me about religion is really like Christians, and I'm not, like I said, Christians have the most entitlement and they're the youngest religion really of all the religions. It's the youngest religion. It's based on basically all the rest of the religions, but they feel like it's their way is the only way. And I know every religion feels that way, but
right.
I worked in a prison for 14 years. So I dealt with a lot of different religions and had to be very,
you had to walk on eggshells.
I can't think of the right. You have to walk on eggshells. You really do. So I just think that I really think that religion is just a way to divide each other and just, you know what I mean? And we're the only species on this planet that can mate with each other no matter what color we are, no matter what race we are, no matter what, gender we are, and reproduce and have normal offspring. So I hate labels and I hate divisions, and I really like religion. To me is one very powerful one because so many people base their literal identity off their religion.
Right. Now I have a kind of different view. I mean, like I've gone through a lot of views on religion. Like I was kind of, grew up loose Christian, free Methodist, so not like super. And I've, read the Satanic Bible. I've delved into Hinduism, Taoism, Islam, Judaism. And I put it in kind of perspective of, I know it, people in the name of God and religion have done all these horrible things. But my question is, how would they have behaved if they didn't have this at all? So you have the people that come together under a certain religion. Would they just be infighting and killing each other if they didn't have that religion? And
of course, because we'd find another reason not to like the next man.
Right. And then, I mean, these days, and like you were talking about the Catholic Church, I mean, the history of the Catholic Church, they ruled the world for 1,000 years. I mean, and then who knows what's in the Vatican archives, what kind of information they're withholding from the human race that could set up above because of control and power. Right. That's another thing. It's easily, absolute power corrupts absolutely. Personally, I've delved into, and there's a lot of Satanism and occultism in the Catholic Church.
Right. That's where it comes from.
occultism
The devil was a fallen angel
who masquerades as an angel of light.
Right.
So I don't know. These days, I see people, and like I believe in the many names, one God, and if there is something that pushes you to a higher truth outside yourself, because I think that's a big problem these days, is everybody is just like, oh, the truth is inside me, and how I feel is the truth. And it's like, no, there are natural laws to the universe. That's where Hermeticism comes in. Ancient Egypt, Sumeria, and Babylon. And occultism, I've been drawn to kind of occultism because I think occultism is kind of a cosmic science of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
You go back to the Jewish mysticism, the Kabbalah and everything, and it gets weird. So you don't associate with any religion. I know labels, man. I hate labels.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I consider myself, I'm actually an ordained minister.
Okay, cool.
And it was as easy for me as literally clicking a button. That's another reason why I don't like religion, man. I don't like religion because it's so, like, literally all I did was put my name and my email address on a form and send it to a place, and now I'm an ordained minister. And I can give, spiritual advice to whoever I want in a legal manner. And I just don't.
With no accreditation.
Right. It's just.
I actually enjoy that because I am an ordained Dudist priest from the Church of Dudism, the offshoot of the Big Lebowski. Which, like you said, I went online, I paid $10, and they sent me a thing. I can perform funerals, marriages. I'd like to try my hand at exorcism.
That would be interesting.
That would be interesting.
That would be a good live podcast.
That would be. But what was it? Yeah, no. Many names, one God. And I think ultimately, like we were talking about dimensional beings, I think there is ultimately one power source. You go back to the source, and everything comes from one thing. And no matter what we call it, you call it Jesus, you call it Buddha, you call it Allah, you're trying to direct to a higher power. And as humans, we fail miserably all the time, but like, hey, at least people are trying. And I tell people, just try. That's all Jesus asks.
But think about what that does. Think about what that does to you mentally. And think about what that does to your self-esteem when you're constantly trying to live up to something that you can never live up to. You can never, and it says it right in the Bible. You'll never be as good as you should be enough to be happy for the rest of your life, for the rest of your afterlife or whatever.
Right.
You'll always fall short of the grace,
glory of God,
of the glory.
Yes.
That to me is just so self-esteem killing that I would just rather not try to live up to something like that.
Okay. No, I can see that, how one can look at it like that. My kind of perception on it is, if I try to be better, if I aim towards something that is unachievable, I put it like this. I say, shoot for the stars, you might crash land on the moon. So you say, okay, there's this Jesus dude. He's a really good dude. He's like the pinnacle of like what a human can be, grace, love, and forgiveness. If I attempt to do that every day, I'm going to fail. I know I'm going to fail, but I'm going to be better off than if I didn't try. And then I just wallow in kind of like myself and everything, or I set myself as the pinnacle. So that's where I've come to. But I mean, I guess I'm all for religious appropriation. So what I do is if I see something in a certain religion that I think can help me on my journey to become better and a more peaceful, flowing, one would call happier life, I'm going to take it. I'm going to pray 5 times like a Muslim. I'm going to meditate like a Taoist. I'm going to ponder on what the fuck is this Jesus dude and what does he even mean? Because I think all these ancient texts, what I found is they have a lot of basic psychology in them.
Power and control.
You can there can do that. But I think there's a lot of information on like just being a conscious being in the human world. And so, of course, I don't push it on to other people. I'm not going to judge what other people do is between them and the universe. How they get there is between them and the universe. I kind of use it like, there are many ways to the top of the mountain. If you have to travel to the top of the mountain, there's many ways you can get there.
Mm-hmm.
So, and yeah, like, I mean, people, we just take shit too far. We get our ego, and especially when somebody you can say, you don't have to take responsibility for something. You can say, God is telling me to do this. I mean,
right.
Hey, God told George W. Bush to invade Iraq.
Right. and then you look at all the cults, the Jonestown Massacre and the Heaven's Gate Massacre.
Heaven's Gate.
And you have all of those. And it's really it's self-esteem. It's really self-esteem, and trying to live up to an unattainable thing has a really. I'm a student. I'm getting my master's degree in psychology right now, and I did a lot of counseling for 14 years when I was at the prison. So like, trying to live up to something that you can never live up to has a big impact on you emotionally and stuff like that. When you can think about things like I'm a father also. I have a 2-year-old son. So to me, I would rather live up to, in his eyes, being the best example of a human being that he can live up to, because he can see my mistakes. He can see what I'm doing wrong every day and stuff like that, and see that it's not that hard to reach a decent human being level, instead of trying to reach for that. I don't know, just trying to reach for that God thing I just feel like it holds people back from wanting to be better people with each other.
That's true. I think that's true. And I can totally see that, because as humans, what we do is we project our, ethics and values upon others.
Right.
And I've struggled with that. You look at what people are doing and you're like, and so you try to project your ethics and values upon other versus like, I say, what was it? Kanye lost his goddamn mind. We know that.
Right.
The Kardashians, I checked out on him when he hooked up with the Kardashians because I knew they ruined men.
But, I'm not trying to cut you off. I want you to keep going on your Kanye thing. But what people don't think about with Kanye West is a big thing that if you listen to his first album, he spit it through the wire.
Yeah.
He spit it through the wire because he had a broken jaw from a major car accident.
I remember watching the documentary.
Could have affected his brain, because he could be suffering from a traumatic brain injury, concussive, CTE, what a lot of football players go through, Junior Seau and all those guys that end up killing themselves. Chris Benoit, all that stuff. But people are so quick to say that Kanye's crazy because the shit he does, but a lot of his symptoms have a lot to do with concussive, CTE, traumatic brain injury. But people don't think back to that. But yeah, he's definitely lost his damn mind, and he needs to shut his mouth. I agree with him.
That's right. I absolutely agree with the CTE. I forgot about that and everything. But besides even that, the family, the Kardashians, the craziness, the fame, the money, the music industry, which there's a lot of dark things that are coming out about the music industry, like real, like satanic kind of evil shit. So, okay. Lost it again. Well, here's a good time to plug tedbets.com. I found a website where you can bet on anything. Anything. Let me tell you about a couple bets I got going. I got a bet that Joe Biden is going to fall down the stairs and break his hip. I got to bet that Lizzo is going to have a heart attack on stage. And a caveat to that bet is if Lizzo doesn't die on stage, doesn't have a heart attack on stage, but if one of her backup dancers dies on stage, I still win that bet. And I've had those bet for a little while now. And I recently actually just made a couple more bets. One, Lizzo is diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Senator John Fetterman has a post-stroke stroke on the Congress floor. I also have a bet of Joe Biden just starts rambling incomprehensible all the time. All the time. And my last bet I just made that I'm pretty sure it's a golden bet is Dianne Feinstein dies in Congress, but no one notices it till they call her for a vote and they look over and she's just done. She's dead. Because, I mean, I don't know if you've noticed, they're literally wheelchairing that corpse around. So, tedbets.com. Give it a shot. Make up some shit. And let's try to get Tyson back here so we can keep talking about religion. Oh, Lord, don't you buy me no Mercedes Benz. I'd rather have a Lexus. I must make a recommendation. All right, man. So let's keep rolling on. Let's see what questions. We talked about everything. Oh, Heaven's Gate. Did you ever watch that documentary on that, the HBO one?
I just was going to look at it before I got on the phone with you. That's why I brought it up.
Dude, it gets weird. There's some stuff in there. And my question was, what's up with the purple cloths, the jumpsuits, and the Nikes? Which I will say, the documentary does not explain anything about that, but I think I have an idea. So this old dude was crazy. We can say he was crazy. Oh, we got to go back to Kanye for a second after that.
Okay.
I literally think this crazy old dude just enjoyed wearing sweat tracksuits and Nikes, felt they were comfortable, and wanted everybody else to be comfortable.
Well, yeah. And you know, I mean, anybody that can get people to, you know, castrate themselves is pretty influential. See, that's what interests me. How is that dude powerful enough with his mouth to control people to literally castrate themselves?
I don't think he is. It's the person that is willing to castrate themselves, because people, I think we have like an innate need of wanting someone else to tell us it's okay. And if you do A, B, and C, D will happen. And I think that's just, you know, I would love to start a cult. It'd be a very mellow cult. It'd be different than, you know, where like Charles Manson got everybody on the bus, then took the bus over a cliff. Right. I just want everybody to get on the bus and we'll drive around and see the sights.
See, Jonestown would have been great, but
Kool-Aid.
But Jim Jones started using drugs. He started getting hooked on. He started getting hooked on methamphetamine and, you know, barbiturates and that's what always happens. And another thing, you know, that they went down there and set up something beautiful. Like I don't know if you've seen the documentaries on that.
I haven't.
But they went down there at the initial onset of things and they set up something beautiful. And then he started getting crazy, and, you know, and that's when it goes wrong with every single cult. If you could get somebody in there that's not crazy, you know, David Koresh, he had another thing going good until he decided that he wanted to start, and it always boils down to sex.
Yeah.
It always boils down to sex and the men being jealous of what other men have. And that's what's, that, like you said, all power corrupts.
Absolute power corrupts, absolutely. And I think
Yeah.
that's where it's like the dominance comes in. That's where, and I've heard of multiple like cults is they have this grace period where they start out and it's really like nice and everything, and then the one holy man
Mm-hmm.
starts getting, his ego inflates. Hey, these people are doing everything I'm saying. I'm gonna keep, it's that drug addict. It's like I gotta push it. I gotta get
Right.
higher.
That's perfect.
I gotta get more of a hit. And so
Mm-hmm.
it goes from, hey, let's all just hang out, help each other, create a wonderful space. It's like, hey, God wants me to bang your wife.
And that's how it always starts.
And that's where I would not be, because I do not have the time or energy to do that shit.
That's the same. Listen. I grew up in upstate New York, and like I said, I worked in a prison for 14 years. I got assaulted by 4 of the inmates, and I was in a coma for 2 months.
Damn.
I woke up. I settled a workers' comp claim, and I left everything that I owned back in New York because I was addicted. I had an addiction to prescription medication, opioids, and I was coming into a decent amount of money that if I would have stayed where I was, I would end up dying. So I left New York, put my 61-year-old mother in a RV, and we drove across the country, and I ended up in Arizona where I live now on 50 acres, off grid, completely off grid.
Fuck yeah, man.
So my idea when I first moved out here was to have music festivals and, really start renewing, because literally when I died, my life changed. I started seeing things a completely different way. I tell my wife right now that if she would have met me, before my accident and everything would have happened, we never would have been friends, because I was a completely different person. People didn't like me. I was cocky. I was a New Yorker. So that's why, people didn't like me.
That's a question. I actually just spent 7 months in Belleville, New Jersey. And I'm from Oregon. I'm West Coast boy, born and raised, redneck, hippie, beach, mountains, mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
Where were you in New York? Were you?
I was in upstate New York. So
Okay.
I wasn't from the city, but I was from like right around Syracuse, New York area.
Okay. And you're down in Arizona. How are you liking it down here?
I love it. It has literally changed my life. It's given me a reason to live. Like I said, I met my wife out here. She's actually from South Carolina, so neither one of us are from Arizona. And we both live we live on historic Route 66, the longest part of Route 66.
Okay.
So I never knew anything about the history of this area and stuff like that until everybody has heard the song "Get Your Kicks on Route 66."
Right.
But people literally migrated from the East Coast all the way out here to start new lives and stuff like that. And you hear, like, in the town that I live in, it's set up by a bunch of families that initially moved into the town, and there's a couple of them that were here when they first moved out here. So to me out here, this is new life, and I've started a new life. Like I said, I never touched a power tool or anything like that until I was 40 years old.
Okay.
I'm 45 years old right now, and I built a tiny house for my wife, me, and my son on our property. And like I said, we live completely off grid. I've learned how to do a lot of stuff, fix cars. I never knew how to fix a car before I came out here, but I ran out of money. That's what happened.
Right.
I got the settlement. I ran out of money, and now I have a traumatic brain injury, and I haven't been able to go back to work in a prison because I just can't. I tried to go to an interview and I tried to do some other stuff, but I just, like, for a week before I went, I was, nightmares, and it wasn't good for my mental health. And I know that I can't do that. So then I went back to school. I'm getting my master's degree in psychology, and I'm hoping to turn that into a counseling and motivational speaking, because I've lived a crazy life. My life has been, I used to weigh 478 pounds. I'm down to 180 pounds now. So I've had a lot of life experience that, to tie it back into what we started talking with, has nothing to do with God. It has to do with me. It has to do with me and the power that I sucked up inside of me in order to move on, because I wanted to keep living. And I think that people if you take more weight in your own power and less weight in other things' power, you'll stop wasting time and be able to put energy into completing. I'm inventing things right now. I'm writing a book. I'm trying to write a movie at the time, actually about a cult. That a true story about a cult. So like once you take control of your own life and live on what you need instead of what you always want in this world, it's a different outlook on life.
I completely agree. I just spent the last 2 years, I traveled 20,000 miles across America in my car.
Awesome.
And well, my mom was kind of a hoarder. So I've kind of, like you say, people who grew up in very strict religious families, usually they break away and they go to the complete opposite side of the spectrum. They're just wild and out. I'm more of a minimalist, but also it's because I think something's coming. Is the way that the societies have been living, it's not sustainable. I mean, we look at the politics, the federal government is overbloated and just huge, and it's just not sustainable. And I feel like there's something big just coming around the corner here very soon, which I don't know if you're into any kind of astrology or anything. I do believe that the planets in their size affect us in certain ways. We're coming up on the age of Aquarius. The Hindus were coming out of the valley of Kali Yuga, where their cycles go in like 52,000 years. And we're coming out of the bottom of the circle, which was the base of man's barbarianism and, not being aligned with the universe. And of course, with AI coming, man, dude, I can't even speculate what's going to change with that. We're all going to be out of jobs, and we don't know if the robots are going to take over or they're going to help us.
See, but and we all have control of that, because a computer is only going to be able to learn what we want it to learn. So if we don't let what you said, infinite power corrupt infinitely, we control how much we allow these computers to learn.
Well, I don't think that's true, though, because I know there's all the Google, Musk is making his own AI. China's got their own AI. And I think at the beginning, they're going to be able to control it. But the problem is, what happens when you have a computer that can soak up all the information, can crack codes, break into Pentagon, everywhere, and it just learns everything. But then that computer, that AI, creates another AI. There's this great movie with Antonio Banderas. Just forgot what it's called. But it's man created robots as slave labor. And man gave them 2 rules. You cannot harm or allow harm to a human being. Also, the robots cannot repair or upgrade themselves. Because what happens when you have a robot that's just like, hey, I'm going to upgrade myself? They're gonna evolve faster than man has in millions of years. So I keep telling people, man, next 15, 20 years, if we live the next 15, 20 years, the advancements of technology in the medical field, we will probably live hundreds of years, and we will have shit way beyond Star Trek.
I know I'm not going to see it in my lifetime. I don't think. I agree with you 100%. Something is coming. I think maybe in the next 20 or so years. And I know that a lot of people are talking about it coming from outer space and stuff like that, but I really feel like it's going to be an interdimensional thing. I think it's going to be something like Back to the Future. Somebody's going to get caught up, like, their machine's going to break down or something like that, and it's all going to come out that, there are time travelers, and it's just going to become this big thing. I agree with you 100%, though. There's definitely something coming soon. I just don't know what it is either.
Right. And I think actually, like we could say, okay, so I'm just going to tie it into aliens anyway. Aliens coming or already here?
Already here.
Okay, because I think the Vatican knows, like the government, they got stuff.
I just think they look
There's
like
weird
us.
stuff. Well, we might be the aliens. I mean,
Right.
the Mesopotamian creation myths state that an advanced alien species came from another planet, created man from their own DNA and the DNA of obviously monkeys and chimpanzees. Because, like, there's this great Joe Rogan joke about, you are 96%, your DNA is 96% compatible with the chimpanzee. If you had a sandwich and it was 4% meat and 96% shit, could you still call that a ham sandwich?
Right.
Yeah. So it's going to be weird, man. It's going to be a weird one.
And see, that's why I'm so
stressed.
I push the having faith in humans, because when this shit does go down, who else are we going to have to rely on? You know what I mean? We're only going to have each other to rely on.
I'm hoping for aliens. And then I can rely on them. I'm down here in southern Arizona, which I love because of the sun. Like I said, I'm from the Pacific Northwest, where we don't see the sun for weeks, and you come down here and it's 80 degrees in the middle of winter. One of the things I love is that I can go out in a field and I can just turn all the way around and there's nothing but sky.
Yep, everywhere. I love that too.
Yep. So, well, we're hitting about the 45 mark. So I'm going to say thank you, man. It was nice talking to you.
It was great talking to you too.
Have a good one.
You too.
Hey, I'm kind of jealous. You said you got 50 acres out there. You living up in the desert.
You said you're in southern Arizona. Anytime you want to come out, man, just let me know. Come on out.
We'll have to hook up.
I don't know if you're into guns, but yeah. I do a lot. I do a lot of shooting out here. I've got a lot of ammo, a lot of guns.
So, funny story. My 19-year-old nephew just shot his finger off.
Oh, really?
Yes. I know that I perceived that with a funny story, but there's a whole lot to it. Which is funny because my family has a bunch of medical problems. And so I texted him. I was like, hey, your grandma just had surgery. His mom's got surgery coming up. Things might get rough a little bit for, health-wise. And his response to that was, I shot my finger off. You want to see? And I was like, And I was like, of course I want to see. And so guns. Actually, I want to question that. Obviously, Second Amendment, you support it.
100%.
And
you asked me about religion, so I'm going to tell you about my political affiliation is I'm a constitutionalist.
Okay.
I believe in us living. Our government should do exactly what the Constitution said, not the Bill of Rights, not all of that stuff, the Constitution. So, Second Amendment, 100%. It should be. I believe in background checks. I believe that people should have a background check. But I don't believe that anybody should be denied any guns.
Yes. Okay, so the point of that is like, okay, so you come from New York and everything, the cities and everything, which, most of the time guns comes down to a rural versus city situation. One thing I don't think people understand is, well, first you ask them, people who are against having guns for the general civilian populace, you're saying the only people you want to have guns is the cops and the government?
Right.
And then personally, I'm going to go balls to the wall. I say we give everybody guns. Everybody gets. Babies get guns. Grandmas get guns. And there's going to be a real sharp uptick in shooting and violence. But when people start realizing that everybody's strapped,
right,
you are going to have a very polite society.
And that's the thing. They use the death penalty as a deterrent.
Yeah.
For people killing other people. Let everybody have a gun, and everybody's not going to be out shooting. I'm going to tell you, it takes, when you have to pull your gun on another human being, it's a different level of being when you realize how much power you have.
Right. And people don't respect that. And that's why I hope my nephew has a very new, profound respect of guns. But one point I wanted to make on people who are against guns is a well armed populace prevents a government from just coming in and steamrolling over every single one of your rights.
Right.
Because
and that's another thing we're moving into too. You're right. But my thing is it doesn't matter if it's the right or the left. They both suck.
Oh yeah, no. Democrats, Republicans.
Yeah.
Like this is where absolute power corrupts absolutely. Everyone at the top, which I mean, you don't even have to be at the top. You could be at a local city councilor level, and you're just going to be corrupt. So red, blue, everybody at the top is corrupt and elite.
We definitely could use a new reboot in the way that we look at government because, like,
no, I feel you. I think we just need to cut the federal government down to what you said, like constitutionalists, where they were meant for foreign policy and war, and then all the powers go back to the states. The states decide how they want to run it, and the people can keep the corruption to a minimum where the power is local. Because I think we saw this with Europe with the what was it called? Not the UN, but when all of Europe decided they're going to.
Oh yeah, I know after World War I.
No, just recently.
Oh,
just 10 years. I can't remember what it's called. Where they based all the power out of Brussels.
Oh, I know what you're talking
about. I know, I can't say it. But the problem with consolidating power, it's like what we're doing now. You know, I'm from Oregon, and we're having people 3,000 miles away from us in Washington, D.C. trying to make decisions over everything in our life. It just doesn't work. They're going to be corrupt. They're not going to give a shit how they spend your money.
Right. And that's the thing, your money. And that was another thing with buying the 50 acres. Like, you never really can own anything in this country. There's nothing there's no such thing as the American dream, because even when I buy 50 acres of property that I'm supposed to own, it's supposed to be mine. I still have to pay taxes on it every year.
And the government can come in and take it whenever they want for whatever reason they want.
They can come in and take it whenever they want. So they just fooled me by telling me that I own something or that I can reach the pin. And like I said, I'm 45 years old, and I thought, owning property means something to me, but it really doesn't.
No, not really. And I will take that one step further, because on my spiritual path, what I kind of do is I don't technically own anything.
That's good. Yeah.
Because it kind of all belongs to, say, that God spirit. Because to own something means you are master over it. And I mean, we play a lot of games. We're just, like I said, we're still monkeys. America is still Europe.
Right.
Life, is still high school.
Yep. So,
all right, man. Oh no, Kanye. Back to Kanye real quick.
Oh yeah.
So I completely agree. I'm not disregarding his talent, because genius and insanity is a very fine line. But once he hooked up with the Kardashians, man, I knew they're just bad juju. And then with everything going on, I can kind of understand why he lost his mind.
Especially when you see his daughter on TikTok and what she does, and the mother just throws it out there. Yeah, they were pretty vindictive, evil people. I'm not going to lie.
Well, look at Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith.
That was crazy.
Dude, they were the couple for decades, of the pinnacle of like, oh, they're so beautiful, they're so wonderful. And now we're finding out they're both batshit crazy and not happy at all.
And that's what, more money, more problems.
More money, more problems. Straight up.
That's all it is. And honestly, like I say this all the time, and I can put it on everything that I hold dear in my heart. I don't want to be rich. I don't want the problems that come along with being filthily, disgustingly rich, because I feel I would have to give back way more than I need to. If I won $10 million, I promise you right now, after I took care of my family and myself, I would give it all away because I wouldn't even want the problem of knowing what to do with it.
Well, the people coming after you, trying to kidnap you or anything like that.
Right.
All the family coming out of the...
Or people pretending to like me
Yep.
because they want something from me. That, yeah.
Well, it's like this. I've decided that 99.99% of people, if we get a ton of money, we're turning into just scum of the earth.
I agree.
And that's why rich people do things, because they get away with everything. And they just, there's no accountability. And I know...
I watched the Masked Singer, and I was really into it because my son really liked to chant along with the occultism that was going on in the background and all that other stuff. And it was fun. It was entertaining, you know?
Right.
But then when I heard Nick Cannon say that he spent
Okay, hold on. You kind of cutting in and out there for a second. You want to restate that? Nick Cannon spent 2.3?
He said he spent $2.7 million on his shoes. They were diamond studded shoes. And I thought about all the people that he could have given, like all the people in LA that live in tents around the studios and stuff where they're doing all this filming of all this stuff. And why wouldn't he go out and pay a couple $100,000 to help one of those people get back on their feet? You know, a lot of them have stories of you know, you traveled.
Yeah.
I'm sure you met a bunch of people in your travels that just one thing happened to them where even $100 can change somebody's life so dramatically. And you're on TV in front of people bragging about how you're putting $2.7 million on your feet.
Right. But like, yeah, that's a whole nother conversation of what's going on into that. So, but the one thing I wanted to say about Kanye is that he's been saying a lot of crazy ass shit, but there was one thing that stuck out to me that you can take either way is I play to an audience of one, and that is God. And I think that's what, you know, and talk about psychology is we're playing to all these people to gain favor. But even if we make up a great power and say, I'm playing to that guy and these are the rules that I'm going to play by, I think that makes better people. To a certain extent, to the individual.
If we have a level, if everybody starts in the same level playing field, then that's how we'll make better people.
Well, I'm saying everyone needs to stop worrying about what's going on over there in wherever. People in New York need to stop worrying about what's going on in Arizona or California or Ukraine or whatever's going on. And I put it like this. If everybody just went home and worked on their own character defects, because that's where we all fall short of the glory of God, is we're all barely more than monkeys. And we're still flinging shit all over the place. But if everybody just took a step back and said, you know, it's the quote from the Bible, why worry about the speck in your brother's eye when you have a plank in yours? And this is why I would say if you're into psychology, you know who Dr. Jordan Peterson is, right?
Yes.
I would say check out his psychological explanations of the biblical stories.
Okay.
Because they were very good. It goes into Cain and Abel, you know, the speck in your brother's eye, all about what is God, what is a hierarchy, and all that jazz. Very smart person. I've learned a lot from him. But the idea of playing to a higher power versus for playing to money as a god, because we all know you can make anything into a god. Some people make drugs, sex, you know, music, whatever. It depends on the natural consequences from that. Whatever your god is going to control your life. It's a weird one. It's, you know, who knows?
Yeah.
But all right, man, I got to get going. Like I said,
All right.
It was very nice talking to you. I would love to talk to you in the future. I mean, we still got 2 more subjects we could go into.
Hit me up, man.
And then I will let you go. Enjoy it, man. Have a good one.
All right. Bye.
Bye.